In today's session, we will be looking at JVM heap. Okay, so we discussed yesterday about JVM architecture, how the JVM is structured, how the different parts of JVMs are functioning each with and how they are communicating with each other. Okay, in order to run your Java program or your Java application. Okay, so now today we'll be going through the JVM heap memory. Okay, so please confirm if everyone is able to see the screen. Okay, thanks, Anil. Thank you, Sana. Okay, so let's just quickly start because we will have to do some. So before we start, did everyone install and prepare that demo application? Yesterday, Kumar has sent the link in your WhatsApp group, right? For one demo application that is JBit Store, and the video was talking about some Tomcat version specific to the Java 1.8. So did everyone was able to do that? Install the Tomcat and all these things. Okay, I get yes from Chandan. Okay, so let's progress through and we'll see how we'll be using that in today's session. Okay, so today's agenda is just we'll be starting with GVM heap. Then we'll understand what how is the heap memory structured, then the patterns of memory utilization in JVM heap. Then there are some JVM memory options are there, and in the sample app we will try to explore these options. The rest of the topics like this GMC and what are the tools are associated in GMC, we'll see if we are able to cover it within today's time frame. Otherwise we will continue it on tomorrow, and after that we'll start with the tomorrow's topic. Okay, so let's just quickly start uh, without wasting any time. Let me just maximize it. Okay. So understanding the JVM heap. So as of now, we already studied about what is a JVM, what is a Java virtual machine, and how its architecture is divided in some multiple parts. So heap is a very important part of the runtime data. We have seen that there are five categories, five different sections. Sorry, in your runtime data area, one of which is your heap memory. Okay, so it is very important to understand the impact of this memory because it uses the garbage collection for memory management, automatic memory management. And when it is used in very high performance, high availability application, it has a very valid point to function properly, or to have a very good performance for this memory parameters. Okay, so basically on the layman's, you can divide this heap memory in three main categories, like the actual heap memory, second is your non-heap memory, and the JVM code. Sorry, the JVM memory you can divide into three parts. So heap memory division is the next we will be seeing. So that is clear now. So JVM memory has all these three parts: your heap memory, non-heap memory, and the other part where your JVM related codes, loaders, and all the classes are stored. Okay, so let's quickly go through the structure of your heap memory. Okay, so it, so when your heap is getting created, so as soon as you start your JVM, so JVM startup will look for the specific parameters of heap. If you are specified any parameters, it will start with JVM with that. If not, it will use the default settings whatever it has. Okay, and as soon as the JVM is start, your heap will be allocated on your physical memory. So I mean, the JVM, wherever the JVM is hosted on whichever the server, some part of the physical memory will be reserved for heap. Okay, so then the execution, once you start executing your applications or Java programs on that JVM, all threads will be allocating the memory for the whatever new objects are getting created through your program, and these objects are resides in heap. Okay, but what happens is heap memory is just providing them the space. Okay, it is not recollecting them when the objects are unused, or if once they are their purpose is done, heap is not recollecting them. So for that we have GC, right? Garbage collection specifically in the JVM, which in so both of this GC and heap both in combination set ups the automatic memory management for JV. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so we also know that for C, C++, for these languages, there was a responsibility for developers to do this memory management on their own. You might remember that we used to do malloc, catalog, and we have to release the block of memory that we are using throughout the code, right? But for Java developers, it is they have this kind of advantage, like which JVM is using the memory automatic memory management, so they are not bothered about the memory space allocations for the objects they are generating throughout their code. Okay, so at the below bottom of the slide, you can see that simple diagram I've tried to represent it. So how heap memory is divided. So this is divided in your three regions. Okay, this first is your young generation, then comes your survivor space, and then your old generation. Okay, so the young generation is nothing but your Eden space. Okay, so inside the survivor space, we also have two spaces: survivor two and survivor from, or sometimes it may be called as S0 and S1. Okay, so survivor to and from it, the objects move from two to from phase from to two, like that. We will see that in the GC class, in the GC station, and how this object moves. We will see that. I think those who have attended the demo session, I showed that live, right? How the objects are moving from survivor space 0 to S1. Okay, so and there the below there is minor or major GC. So whenever the objects are they're residing in the heap, your GC will comes in the picture, and it will sweep out the major or minor GC throughout the young generation or old generation. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Your young generation is total comprised of your Eden plus survivor space, and there is an old generation we call as a tenured generation. Okay, so as we all know that what is young generation, or what is the Eden space specifically. So this is nothing but the space where your the new objects are created. Okay, so most of the time you might have seen for some of the specific GM they also call it as the nursery space. Okay, so for example, I think for JRocket or some other specific JVM, they call it a nursery space. So nursery is nothing but where the new objects are getting created. Okay, so once these objects are created, there is some particular what we can say threshold. Okay, so let's say by default the threshold value is 8 or 7 for some hotspot JVMs. So this threshold, what is this threshold for? So how do you know? I mean, how does JVM know that once these objects are there in hidden space, how they will get promoted to the upcoming spaces like survivor space or tenure space? So there is a threshold for this. So like it is defined as 7 or 8. So if an object it is not sorry, if an object is not marked for 7 consecutive GC cycles. Okay, so whenever the GC has been called, so this if this object is still being used, then this object will be moved to the S0 space. Okay, same way for the object from to getting promoted from your survivor space. Okay, I think Chandan has some problem with the presentation. Chandan, I'm presenting. Any all the other guys, are you able to see the understanding GMM heap slide? Can you please confirm?
No, I'm just seeing JVM heap memory. Nothing changes. It's just there. I don't know whether you are doing
Oh,
anything. Are you?
okay.
Are you? I'm just seeing the JVM heap memory. Are you doing
Okay,
any other?
so I have. Okay, let me just Uh, Let me just disable it and let me just reshare the screen.
The screen is not moving.
Okay.
Nothing changes.
Okay, just a minute. Now is it visible? I think Anil can see now. But for rest of you, Chandra is still not visible.
No, it's not visible to me too.
What is the problem now? I've shared it properly. Let me again disable it and let me share it again. Even I am not able to share it. It is not turning green. Usually that screen sharing icon turns green when I share the screen. I don't know why it is not getting shared now. Okay, now I think now it is visible, right? Because I can see that in audience view. Okay, yeah, thanks, Chandra. Okay, good. Okay, so yeah, so I was just talking about this heap memory. So we in the previous slide, just okay. So in the previous slide, we just so you guys have also not seen this slide as well.
Same. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so in this slide, I just explained you what is the heap, right? Okay, not seen Chandras. Okay, no problem. I'll just quickly revisit it. So, what is the heap? I mean, I just explained that we know that heap is, distributed in three main parts. One is your hidden space, and then other is your old generation, and young hidden and survivor is part of your young generation. Okay, so it your heaps will get created as soon as your JVM starts. Okay, unless you have specifically defined few different options for a heap, your heap will use the default. The JVM will use the default settings. Now, what is the default settings? So it varies from operating system to operating system and from the processor architecture to processor architecture. Meaning, if you have a 32-bit Windows operating system, the default JVM maximum heap memory settings will be different. If you have the 64-bit Windows operating system, the default settings for your JVM heap is different. So, as I recollect correctly, for the last Windows 64-bit, the JVM heap setting was like maximum heap memory you could set is 1/4 of your physical memory. Okay, and the minimum was 1/16th of your physical memory. So like that, and the same way that hidden spaces and survivor spaces are they have some predefined ratios inside. Okay, so let's just quickly move to the next slide. Okay, so this slide I was just explaining about how just heap is segregated in two different areas: young generation and old generation, right? So young generation contains your hidden space and survivor space, and old generation we all know that it's a tenured space. So hidden space in some of the JVMs it is also called as a nursery space. Okay, so what is the hidden space? We all know that once a new objects are getting created, it will be stored in your it will get created in the hidden space. Okay, and depending on the rate of creation of your object creation rate, the GC will get triggered, and once the GC gets triggered, that objects will get moved to the survivor space, that get promoted, right? So how they get promoted? How does JVM know that when do I need to promote the objects from hidden space to survivor space? So there is a threshold for that, right? So it's by default 7 or 8 cycles. So uh, once an object lives, or once an object is old enough to survive 8 GC cycles, it will get moved to the survivor space. Okay, Now, when it comes to the survivor zero space, again, within survivor space, we also have some tenoring threshold. We call this as the term is tenoring threshold. So this tenoring threshold is generally 15. Okay, 15. So if an object survives 15 cycles from S0 to S1, S1 to S0, so likewise, if the object survives 15 GC cycles, it will get promoted to the tenured cycle. Okay, so how this happens, we will see in detail when we go through the GC GC session. Okay, so as of now, for heap memory session, we just need to understand that there are these separate parts of the memory, which is one is your young generation, which it is comprised of your hidden and survivor, and there is a tenured generation. So survivor zero and survivor both are same size. Okay, Eden and tenured are also they are not same size. Eden is smaller, tenured is bigger. Okay, so that is the thing. Now, whenever the GC has been called, the GC cycle is called. We call it as a stop the world process. Okay, because it stops the world. I mean, for the JVM, no processes can be done. Okay, but due to a minor GC, when a minor GC has been run, so this stop the world is very less impact on your GC, on your performance of your JVM, because it is very low time to collect and low area to work on, right? Because hidden space is smaller than your old generation. It has a very small space to work on, so it can quickly go to the hidden space and survivor space and collect the objects, and then again start the JVM. I mean all the processes. Okay, we will see that detail for in the GC session. Okay, so now next is your old generation. Okay, so the right part of this old generation, or we call where the tenured objects resides. Okay, so whatever the objects are survived 15 cycles under your survivor space, they will get promoted to the tenured generation or old generation. Okay, so this objects, this specific memory area, it will get filled with the objects which are still referenced by the uh, new objects, or which are still referenced by your JVM, or the program which is running on your JVM. Okay, so whenever a major garbage collection event happens, so whenever a GC full GC happens, these objects are again wiped out. The objects are marked which are still in use. The objects which are not in use, they will be wiped out. So how did it happen? So for that again, how JVM will know that when I need to start, when I need to kick the full GC. So they again, for there is a threshold. So when your heap memory reaches for some percentage of your available old generation. Okay, I think I've also shown that in your demo session. So whenever that specific threshold is meet for your old generation heap memory, it will start the full GC. Okay, so when a full GC starts, it will uh, wipe all the generations. I mean, it will collect the garbage from hidden space, survivor space, as well as from your old generation. Okay, so that's why it takes some time, and it is more, what we can say is it takes slightly more time than the minor GC. Okay, so there are different types of GCs available: serial, parallel, CMS, concurrent marksheet. Then, and the latest one is your G1 GC. Okay, okay. So there are specific reasons when to use which GC depending on your memory and computer's processor architecture. Okay, and also depending upon the objectives that you want to get out of your JVM, right? If you want to use for throughput, you need to use some other GC algorithm, and if you want it for speed, you might need some another GC algorithm. So we will see that in the GC session. Okay, now this is a very important slide. So as we talked about memory, right? How the objects are getting created, new objects are getting created, and GC is wiping out. After how many GC cycle while objects move from S0 to S1? So I already mentioned that, Chandan. So for S0 to for objects getting from S0 to S1, so there is no for every GC cycle it will move from S0 to S1. Okay, so there is no such criteria within S0 and S1, but for entire S0 S1, if the object has completed 15 cycles, it will move to the tenured. Okay. Whenever a GC is called, what happens is, okay, I think that is not the right time to discuss it, but let's solve your doubt. So whenever a GC is called, so what it will do is it will mark the objects in your hidden space which are need to be collected. Okay. Then it will check if few objects are there which has to be garbage collected. So that will be garbage collected, and the remaining objects it will move to the S0 if the objects are surviving the 7 or 8 cycles. If there are objects are still new, that new objects will be still there in the hidden space. Okay, if the objects have survived 7 or 8 cycles, they will move to the S0 side. Now, what happens with the objects in S0? Now, these objects are already survived the 7 or 8 GC cycles, right? So, when a next GC cycle comes in, what JVM will do, it will first move this S0 objects, whatever the objects there are in S0 to S1. Okay, and it will free up the S0 space. Then again, it will mark the objects that has to be collected for garbage in hidden space and wipe that objects out. Again, if there are some objects survived 7 to 8 cycles in hidden space, they will be moved to S0. Okay, now then again back from S1, these objects will get moved to the S1, and then again from S1 to S0. So in within S0 and S1 there is no such criteria for objects to get moved on. Okay, but from total survivor space to tenure generation, the object has to be moved at least for the tenuring threshold that is given. So 15 cycles if you want to if it is surviving 15 cycles, so it will get moved to the tenure generation. Okay, we will understand everything that in detail once we go through the GC class. I have the very good graphical representation as well, and we'll also see that live. Okay. Okay, so we were on this slide, memory utilization in JVM. So why it is very important? So whenever we are talking about different types of monitoring, different sections of monitoring for memory, but whenever we monitor the heap memory, we monitor it as a whole, right? We do not monitor specifically hidden space. We do not monitor specifically old generation. Though we have these options available in your G console and JVisual VM, other tools. These tools we have the option available to monitor the specific memory area. But uh, as a whole, we monitor the entire heap space, right? So this graph particularly, you can see there are three different colored lines. Okay, one is your blue, this is black, and this is green. Okay, so this is a healthy application. Okay, so this healthy application, it is very normal behavior for an application if it is unhealthy to have this kind of memory utilization pattern for JVM. Okay, so this is we call, okay, sawtooth pattern. Just a second, I think are you able to see my screen? Okay, okay, so this is called a sawtooth pattern. So what happens whenever the object start getting created? So this blue line represents the creation rate, the rate of at which new objects are getting created. Okay, so these objects will start getting created, and when they reach at the some specific threshold level, now you can see over here this 200 MB and some bytes are there. So when it reaches this specific threshold level, a full GC will get triggered. Okay, so this black line represents the GC. This GC gets triggered and it will free up all the objects that are garbage, so they are not referencing back, and it will revert back the memory utilization to the initial stage. Okay, then again it starts creating new objects and all these things are happening same consecutively. Okay, so this pattern repeats itself, and this green line, it represents the starting space, or what we can say the initial stage when the JVM started. Okay, now this is the line where it we are when we are expecting your memory reclamation, what we say has to come back. Okay, so whenever a GC is reclaiming the memory which is being freed, so it should come back to this point again. which was or close to this point, which was the initial point of your JVM start. Okay. Now next thing is this is the healthy application. So as long as you see this kind of pattern of memory behavior, you are good to go. The application is behaving properly. Okay, let me just check if I can show you this on live. Okay, yeah. Okay, now you can you see the screen now? So if you're able to see the screen, you can see this GC utilization pattern in the hidden space. You can see this is started here. It grew up some point, then again come back to this ground level. I guess then again it started and growing up. So I think that period is closed. Let's just see the visual VM's GC itself. Okay, now you can see it's moving now, right? So it is starting, the objects are getting created. Once reaching the threshold, the GC is being called again, the memory is being reclaimed for the new objects, and it is again started increasing. Then again at some point GC is called likewise. So this is the normal pattern. Now this is the healthy application pattern we can see. Okay. Okay, coming back to the slide. Okay, so this is the healthy application pattern. Now what is the problematic pattern there? Okay, so when we know that there is a problem in your memory utilization, so this is it. Okay, so in this application you can say this is a leaking application, memory leaking application. Okay, so after each of your GC events, if the memory is not fully reclaimed, okay, by the from the heap, so it means your application is leaking the memory. So now there are different types of memory leaking also, right? So how do you identify it? So whenever you are monitoring your application memory uses, and because it's the same sawtooth pattern, right? But what is the difference now? You can see first, second, third, fourth, fifth, till six cycles. You can see this. The objects are getting created again. GC is getting triggered. It is reclaiming some object, some memory bytes. Again, the objects are getting created. Again, the GC is being triggered. Again, there's some bytes are getting collected. In the same fashion, it is going on. But you can see that there is one difference. Okay, so there is one main difference is that their base, the number of bytes the GC is collecting, is getting shorter every GC cycle. So for example, if the first GC cycle, if it collected from say 128 to 32, so 128 minus 32, let's 100, let's on average let's take 100 bytes. If 100 MBs it reclaimed, or the second GC cycle it is shortened, third it is shortened more, and when consecutive cycles it is getting shortened. You can see this green line, your base is shifting. So initially your JVM started at 32 MB, okay, but over the time it grew till this point. So what is this red line? This is the maximum line, so maximum heap space available for you to grow. So now this base is shifting, and at point it is reaching to your red line. That means you are bound to get the out of memory exception, right? So this is how you identify this if your JVM is leaking the memory. Okay, so this kind of graph represents that your base is shifting. Each GC is not able to reclaim all the bytes that have been used, right? Unlike the previous pattern, where we can see that all the bytes whichever used has been reclaimed by GC. Okay, so this memory when it's used to 200 MB, and again after the GC cycle it came down to the again same starting point 50 MB. But that is not the case with this. After every GC cycle, the reclaiming bytes is shortened. Okay, so this is how we identify this memory leak in the application. Okay, so now there are different memory options available. Okay, so this for this exercise we have this
Can I ask a
Tomcat
question?
list. Sorry, Mero, Sanu.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, please.
So in the latter explanation, so
Mm-hmm.
we didn't get anything like the green line is not horizontal, you know. So it is actually moving upwards. So if the green line is horizontal, everything is normal. But being that the green line is moving upwards, it means problem in the JVM, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. It means you have the problem in the memory.
Okay.
Yeah. So because the base, you can see the base, right? Always look for the base. Okay, so whenever you are monitoring your JVM memory, okay, the heap memory, you always look for, once the GC has been triggered, how much the heap space utilization is. Okay, this green line over here, it represents that it's same. So this point, this base, okay, once this GC is done, it again came down to the same spot when the JVM has started with this memory. Okay, so this is how you identify if there is a leaking application is leaking memory. Okay, in this slide you can see this base is getting shifted. Ideally it started at 32 MB, so ideally it should claim 32 bytes again. Whenever GC is happening, it should be again 32 bytes, 32 MBs, the initial heap size should be. But you can see that it is moving, and again at one point it reaches to the maximum heap size, and you will get out of memory error. Okay. Okay, so now let's first understand this JVM memory options specifically, and then we'll move to the exercise. Okay, so there are different JVM options are available. Okay, so they are specifically categorized in three different ways. Like, one are your standard options, then are your non-standard options, and then are few other options are there. Okay, so we will see the specific options to the specific topic. Now, as we are discussing the JVM memory, we are discussing for the memory options only. Okay, so you can see that there are different types of memory options. So starting with, let's just start with first XMX and XMX. Okay, so these are very popular memory options. These are used for setting your heap memory, minimum heap memory and the maximum heap memory. So it is initial heap size. XMS is your initial heap size, and XMS is your maximum heap size. Okay, so you just have to define it in a way that I mean, depending on the JVM on which you want to start and how much memory it needs. So depending on that, you should set these values. Okay, one more thing is there. So when you set these values same, when XMS and XMX both are same, you are reducing the GC cycles. So this will come under the GC tuning. We will see that also. So most of the applications start with the same value for XMS and XMX. Okay, as of now, just concentrate on this different options. So there is this option, XX new size. Okay, -XX new size. So what is new size? You just focus on the term. New means the latest objects. So this is defining the Eden generation, young generation. Okay, so what is the new? When you specifically give -XX new size and give some specific value, the JVM will understand that this specific has been allocated to the young generation. Okay, so this memory allocation can be appended on your JVM for specific young generation and old generation. Okay, then there is also one, it has 1/4 size of heap size. Okay, so if your heap is let's say 256 MB, so 1/4 of that is should be your young generation. Okay, when you should increase the heap size, when you should increase the young generation area, if there are multiple minor GCs you observe in your in your application, whenever you're doing it the test and you're observing there are a lot of minor GCs and being called, so that means your application is having a high amount of short living objects. No, the objects which are not necessary, and I mean, as soon as they are created, their purpose is served. Okay, and they becomes obsolete. So in this kind of behavior, you just need to increase your young generation. Okay, so GC will get some breathing space and it will recollect the objects. Okay, And the next option is your -xx max new size. The same way you can define the new size, you can define the maximum new size. So what is the maximum it can grow? Okay, then comes your survivor ratio. So same way we are defining for the Eden space. For survivor space there is a parameter like survivor ratio. Now there is no such thing that can segregate the sizes for S0 and S1, because S0 and S1, the survivor spaces, both are of the same size. Okay, so if when you set this survivor ratio to 8, you can see that difference, how your survivor sizes are different. Okay, so we want to do this exercise today. Okay, so let's just before the two different parameters are now pending. So hyphen max meta space size and hyphen max perm size. So when you need to see this max perm size, okay Chandan, I'll come to your question. Let's just first finish this topics. Okay, so what is max perm size? It is the permanent generation. Okay, the permanent generation is the generation of your memory JVM heap which contains all the data which is needed by JVM itself. Okay, so this permanent generation you can specify whenever you're starting your JVM, you can specify that parameter -xx max perm size and you can give. So most of the time you will not need it at first, but when you see the out of memory errors, so out of memory error occurs at the different level. It may be you due to your Eden space being small, or it may be due to your old generation being small, and this there are different kinds of reasons for your out of memory error. Okay, so you can see this error when you see this error out of memory and map permgen, then you need to increase this size. Okay, the same way the permanent generation, there is meta space size, maximum meta space size. So what is the, I mean, from JDK 8, from the Java 8, the meta space is not specifically defined. Okay, so it is automatically managed by JVM itself. So whenever it reaches its limits, JVM will automatically increase it. Okay, so but however, to if you're running this on production and you are very short on your memory and strict on the boundaries of memory and how much memory a JVM maximum should use, you should specify this parameter that it should not go beyond 100 MBs and like that. Okay, so now okay, so now let me just take the question from Chandan. Okay, so what is the question? Okay, so what is minor GC? Is it frequent GC, or is it a good approach if GC is happening frequently? Okay, so what is minor GC? So first of all, okay, again Chandan, we can discuss all this in the GC session, but okay, as of now you already asked the question, let me just explain it. So what is a minor GC? A minor GC is a GC which runs through your young generation only. Okay, understand it. A minor GC is a GC which runs to your young generation only. So it will only collect the objects from your Eden space and it will move the objects within survivor space. Okay, it is a frequent GC, right? You're right. And it is a good approach if GC is happening frequently. Yes and no. This answer can be this question can be answered in both ways. Either if the GC is happening frequently, it is a good approach because you're freeing up the space for your what do we say new objects getting created on your young generation. Okay, but when okay, so and the when GC is happening frequently, why it is not good? So for, this has to be evaluated on the object creation rate. Okay, let me again go back to the slide where we had the healthy application. Okay, now you can see this blue line. I described it as a object creation rate, right? So it is a steady object creation rate. You can see the rate at which the new objects are getting created. If you have same steep, I mean, I don't have the digital pen now. Let me just get a pen so I can quickly show you this. In fact, it is a very good question. Okay, So now you can see this is the actual sawtooth pattern, right? So in this pattern, you can see this object, this line represents your object creation rate. So when we are talking about the minor GC only, and when I'm saying that minor GC, if it is happening frequently, it is either good, or though it is happening frequently, it is not good. So the reason is, let me just open it. Okay. Okay. So there are two kinds of pattern for same GC, you can see. Oh, I'm not able to draw anything on it. Okay, are you guys able to see the screen? I'm not able to hear anyone. Can you please confirm if you are able to see the screen? Okay. Okay. So coming back to your question, Chandra. So when we are saying that frequent GCs are good and frequent GCs are bad, so same sawtooth pattern that you need to observe, right? Okay. So I will draw two different kinds of patterns over here. Okay. So this is the first pattern. Okay. So this is again the minor GC, which is coming frequently. Okay. So now these are the two different patterns. Okay. So in first pattern, you can see it is again the frequent GC, it is reclaiming all the bytes, but you can see the gap in between the first and second occurrence of the GC. This is very short, right? So whenever a GC first at first when it get called, it reclaimed all the bytes in the similar fashion in the last second pattern. Okay, but then it started behaving like, as soon as this line represents the rate of object creation, so object creation rate is high, and that's why your GC is again coming back. Again your this memory is getting filled up very quickly, and then again the GC is getting triggered. So this kind of GC, so for this you will have some CPU percentage increase. Okay, so it will increase your CPU utilization, plus your stop the world process, it will also increase. Okay, which will ultimately cause your response times to increase. Okay, in this pattern you can see that there is a significant and stable delay between each and every GC cycle, though it is a frequent, but there is some stable delay in between the both the shift, and the rate of creating the objects, it is same across the GC cycles, you can see, right? So that is the difference. So when you see this kind of frequent consecutive GCs, you should at least first you should check what is the GC, what is the young generation size. Okay, you need to check the young generation size, and you need to tweak that. Most of the times it creates an additional overhead. Now here is the twist. For most of the application, it is expected to have this kind of behavior. Okay, so I mean they have a very high rate of new objects getting created. Okay, due to which this young generation gets filled quickly, right? So you have your young generation, so it gets filled quickly with all the objects, and the GC has to be there. Minor GC has to be there. I think that is all I have to say. And we can go in deep when we discuss the when we will discuss it in the GC session. Chandan, as of now, that suffices your answer. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So we have a short exercise to do now. Can you guys all? You. I hope you have all installed that application, right? Yesterday Kumar sent a link on video. Okay. So what you have to do now? I'll show you first. Uh, all these JVM options that that we have discussed today, I will send it through email to you. Okay. So in max XX new size, XMS, XMX, right? All these types of JVM options we are going to see live. I mean, how it is impacting the heap memory sizes and all these things. Okay. So we already have uh, the Java JPEG store application, right? Okay. So let me quickly navigate to the session. So I have also installed it on my laptop. So you can see this JPEG store and Apache Tomcat. Okay. So now what you need to do is the video is good and self-explanatory till you reaches to the point where you have to do this put this war file. Okay. Could you please tell? Okay. So Chandra seems to be interested in GC a lot. Okay, so how will we will come to know if frequent GC is happening only because high object creation? Okay, so for that you need to see the you need to take a dump, a heap dump. Okay, and you need to also check the object pattern. Okay, so once you take a heap dump, you will get the all objects details, and that time you can also you can also see the object creation rate. I mean, at what point of time, what is the heap space, how many objects are there, and again, next point of time, what is the heap space, how many objects are there. So this is how you will come to know that if the object creation rate is very high. Okay. Okay. So I was on this part. So once you go to this Apache Tomcat, right? So is anyone have installed so I can directly show on their laptop or their system? They can see. Is anyone currently in front of desktop or laptop, or all, or you guys are attending on your phone? Yeah, yes, yes, Meadow. Yes, and it's a heap dump.
Hello. Yeah, yeah. What is this heap dump? Why heap dump? Please.
We'll come to that section, Meadow. This is another session. We'll come to that. No, no problem. We'll discuss why we need to take heap dumps and how do we do it. We'll go to that section. No issue. So as of now, I'm just asking about do you guys have, I mean, are you guys in front of your laptop or your desktop? So I can or so you can share your screen and I can quickly show in your screen because I have it already set up. I think you guys are attending on your phones. Okay, your Chandan is connected from phone. Shannon is on laptop. Anil is on Windows. So can Anil, can you just share your screen quickly and give me the control? Okay, I'll change you to the present. Okay, Anil, I have made you a presenter. So as soon as you're ready, let us know so we can, show this live on your system. What option you are talking about here, Sano? To show from end. Don't know. Okay, Anil, let me just know once you are ready. Okay, he has already left. No issues. I'll just show you in my own system. Okay, so I have set up this Apache Tomcat and JPEG store. So what I am expecting you guys to do is so we will be starting this JVM. Okay, so before that, you first open the JVisual VM. Okay, I will also show that how do you open it. I'll close this first. Just navigate to the bin directory of your Java folder, JDK. Okay, once you are in the bin directory, you can quickly see this JVisual VM over there. Okay, it is usually in the program files, or for some of you it might be in the x86 if you have 32-bit Java installed. Okay, so go to the program files, then you go to the Java directory, go to the JDK. Inside the JDK, in the bin directory, you have this JVisual VM. Okay, so first open this JVisual VM. Okay, let it running. So there are no, you can see the left side in the under the applications tab, you see there are no applications except Visual VM. Okay, so let it running. Just minimize it. Now now you go to the folder where you have. Okay, so Anil is back now. Okay, so Anil, now you are presenter. Yeah, we can see your screen, Anil. Now can you quickly move to the Java directory? I think we cannot control from this. Anil, can you open the Java directory, Java bin folder in your system? Yeah, Anil. Are you not able to hear my voice, Anil? Okay, it seems to be a problem. Some any other Sharon, can you hear my voice? Oh yeah. So there seems to be some problem with Anil. So I'll just quickly ping him.
Hi,
Hi.
Chetan.
Yes, it's Anil, right?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry. I switched my computer. I was on Mac, I switched now. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen now. Can you
Okay,
just quickly go to the this Java directory? Just go to the Windows. Just type Windows E.
okay. And,
No. Not type. Explorer. Yeah, just go to the Windows Explorer
okay, let's
first.
go. Okay, right here.
Now you just move to the C drive.
Okay.
Go to the program files.
Program files.
There you have Java. You don't have Java here. Just go back.
Okay. I think
Go
this
to
is
the 86. Yeah, go there.
Java right
Java.
here.
You don't have JDK.
JDK. Actually,
No, you don't have JDK. Yeah, I can see that there you don't have JDK.
okay, but I installed. I already had the Java, so
JR,
I application.
JR
Yeah,
is required, right? So
yeah,
JR is required. Only JR is required to run this application. So no
yeah.
JDK is required.
No.
But we need JDK for our understanding. Okay.
Oh, okay. So
Okay, no problem. I can switch back to my screen and let me just show you it on my screen, and then you can practice on your own. Okay.
okay, okay, no problem.
Okay. So where I just showed you guys that from the JDK folder right here in the Java in JDK under bin directory you find different types of tools available, right? So from those tools you need to get first JVisual VM, open it, let it be running. Once your JVisual VM is running, you can see this right at the left side in the left side window under applications. You can see uh, there are no application except Visual VM. Okay, so let it running. Now let's come back to the directory where we have installed our JPEG store. Okay, and the Apache Tomcat. Now I have extracted this Apache Tomcat here in my G drive. Okay, and under Apache Tomcat I have this JPEG war file deployed. Okay, so the video has already all these instructions that how you set up and how you get it working, right? So under this folder you can see there are different directories, right? Bean, conf, library, and all these things. Okay, so you just go to the bean directory first. Under bean directory you can find Catalina and catalina.sh. Okay, so these are the two files which will be required for your JVM startup. Okay, so these are the files which have the what do we say, the criteria as mentioned or the options as defined for JVM to start. Okay, so catalina.sh is for the Linux and Unix OSs, and catalina.bat is for the Windows. Okay, so we are interested in this as of now because we are on a Windows machine. So I already have opened that catalina.bat file. Okay, so when you see open this bat file, there is a lot of information, so I insist you go through it, you read it first. It is a very you will get a very good understanding of how Tomcat works on Windows, right? When you are running a Tomcat on Windows, what all things you will need. Okay, now once you go to this file you can see there are some some snippet of codes are written, like set local is there, there is main entry go home. So you need to find it is good. You need to find start. It should be okay start, I guess. Do start, right? Okay, so you need to find this function do start. Okay, so under this do start you can say set Catalina underscore options OPTs. Okay, so now you can see there I have defined different types of XMS access parameters. For you guys it will be empty. Okay, so this line will be empty. Okay, so what I want you to do is now you just need to change it. Okay, so I'll just remove the remaining features, remaining options, delete it. Okay, so now I have given here XMS 256. Let's just start with first XMX. Okay, let me just show you how it works when you define it and when you not define it. Okay, so now this is the screen, or this is the way you will see it in your system or your machines. Okay, it will be completely empty. So now I have made it completely empty. Okay, okay, now I've saved it. Now again you just go back and navigate to the bin directory of your Tomcat. Okay, under Tomcat bin directory, you can see there are two startup files are there. Startup.sh is there, and there is startup.bat, which is Windows file. Okay, so we want to click on this startup.batch file. Okay, this will start up your Tomcat. Okay, so as soon as you click on this file, you can see this one command window opens for Tomcat, and it is starting up, right? You can go through and read this, and once this starts up, it will start logging in. You can see the debug level is there. All the logs are started, so you can see start server startup. Okay, after that you just go to this JVisual VM screen. Okay, now you can see there is one Tomcat PID added, right? So it automatically detected that there is an application Tomcat. Okay, so now what I want you to do is you just double click on this. Okay, so now this is open. Once you double click, you see this JVM is open. Under this overview tab, you will see every information. So what JVM it is running, hotspot, what is the Java version, what is the home directory of Java, what are the JVM flags. There are none. Okay. And the arguments given, we have not specified those any specific arguments, right? Sorry. So it is using the arguments on its own. Whatever the arguments it already has configured, these are the arguments you can see over here. Now you quickly move to the Visual GC tab. Okay, in Visual GC, I want you to notice this hidden space, survivor space, and old generation, and what is the size is given. Okay, so I want you guys to get the screenshots for every every task. So first start up your Tomcat without doing anything, without changing any parameters. Okay, without any JVM parameters. I want one screenshot with this. Okay, so what is the compile time and what is the GC? So we are now interested in the space of heap, right? So I want the screenshot for this area, like what is the meta space size? Okay, what is the old generation size? What is the survivor size? And what is the hidden space size? Okay, so I want a screenshot from every one of you for this. Okay, so once this is done, now next is what? Next, I want you to go again back to the directory, bin directory. Okay. Now, similar to startup, you can see upside there is shutdown.sh and shutdown.batch. Okay. So now there are two ways you can shut down your Tomcat. Okay. You can either click this shutdown.bat, or you can directly control X in this command prompt which is open, right? If I do control C over here, it will also get shut down, but it is not the proper way, because when I do this control C, the Tomcat is it is leaving some of the dead objects in my RAM, in my memory. Okay, so I don't want to do that. I want to do it a clean shutdown. So let's do it in a proper way. I will just double click the shutdown. You can see this will get closed. Okay, so also once as soon as that is done, you can see this Tomcat PID is gone from here under the JVisual application, right? There is no, and also this moving is stopped. Whatever was moving here, that also stopped. Okay, now you go back to this catalina.bat file again, and you try this options under do start. Find this tag do start, go to the catalina.ops and just mention this option. XMX is 512 MB. Okay, I've just given this option XMS equal to 512 MB. Now save that file. Okay, and again startup. Again, your Tomcat will get start. Okay, and as soon as it starts, you will get it detected in your JVisualium. So you can notice earlier the PID was 508, right? Now we have PID 25100. That's a new process that is correct. Okay, you close the previous one, take this one, double click it, now open it again. Now you can see in this JVM arguments hyphen XMX 512 MB, right? We didn't have this option earlier. Okay, now you go again back to the Visual GC tab. Now you see this sizes are changed, right? Old generation 341 only. Earlier it was different. Survivor was different. Hidden was different, right? So these are changes. So I want you guys to do this exercise and understand how this memory is getting divided, right? Whatever options you are giving, how these options are reflecting the heap memory, heap sizes. Okay. So this is the one thing you do. Again, what you do next? I want you to capture this, get one screenshot for this option. Then go back to the bin directory again. Okay, this one. Shut down. Tomcat will shut down. Confirm it. Okay, in JVM you see no Tomcat. Now again go back to the Catalina file. Okay, instead of XMS, XMS is there, right? Now add one option, XMS 256 M. Okay, just keep in mind this hyphen. Hyphen is that is very important. If that is not defined, your it will not be considered as a JVM option. So now I have given XMS 256 MB plus I've keep this option as well alive, right? XMX 500 MB. Now I am saving it again and I want to start it. Again inside JVM, JVisual VM, I can see again PID has changed. Earlier it was 25100, now it is 21032. I quickly open it. I can see both the options now, XMS and XMX, right? Now what it has impacted my GC, the memory utilization or the memory structure, because my maximum size is same, so you can hardly see any impact over here, but you can see you will able to see over here, right? Maximum is this, it started with this. Okay, so this is the part, this is the exercise I want you to follow. Okay, so you just again get the screenshot of this, and so I want you to change and play with these options. Okay, so I've given these two options. You start with single option. So just give the XMS only first and see what is happening. First start with the blank, no options at all. Then start with XMS only. Give some space and let's observe what is, what are the memory areas are changing, how they are changing, right? And then again shut down the Tomcat server again and change in your Catalina and start again. Okay, so these options I want you to try. Okay, so I will give you the list of these options, this table I will made it to you. I want you to try these options and you can email me or you can WhatsApp me the screenshots for your uh, uh, test. So for every parameter, so one screenshot will be for your new size, one for your max new size, one for this. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, so 7 screenshots I am expecting plus one idle, 8 in total, right? So one without any changes and then this 7. So can you guys please intervene and do this kind of exercise, so it is for again your understanding how this memory is happening, how this memory is structuring in the JVM, right? If you have any questions, any doubt, please ask. I'm always there to help you. Okay, so anything is not clear in this exercise, what you have to do, let me know.
So in the actual test environment, So the setup is gonna be our responsibility, or who is gonna actually respond for this kind of setup?
Actually, I will prefer for you to have your own setup. It's not that tough to set it up on your system. Okay, JPEG store and this application, it is not, because if you have it on your system, you have control of everything, right? You can do the exercise whenever you want, or you can explore whenever you want, however you like, right? We are there to help you. If you mess up with something, or something is not working, we can troubleshoot, no problem with that. But I will ask you guys to have this setup on your own system. Yeah, it is not that heavy as well. I mean, it hardly takes any space, so, and it's very easy to set up. So which system you are working on, Sana? It's a Mac, or you have Windows also?
I'm having Windows, and
Yeah, so it is very easy to set it up on Windows, Sano. So you can set it up on Windows, so for further exercises and all the other things, whenever you are having free time, you can work it on your own. You can explore these things on your own. And if you face any issues, you can just get the screenshot, just email it to me. I will try to resolve it.
okay, so you guys just sent all the installation steps, right? Because I haven't
Right,
got time to look into that yet because of the
right.
office assignment.
Okay, no issues, no issues.
So
We can just quickly go through that video, Sanu. That video is very good, and it is a very self-explanatory. So
okay,
once you go through that video, you will understand how you need to set it up on your Windows, and how do you need to set up the Tomcat, how do you need to set up this JPEG store, and what are the requirements. So I think JDK 8 or Java 8 is required. And one more thing, guys, I will also want you guys to install JDK also, right? Though it requires only JRE to run, but for our purpose, for our understanding, we need the tools that are there in the JDK bin directory, right? So please install JDK also. JDK 1.8 will be good. Okay. So, Shannon, you want me to send all these steps in an email so you can follow?
sure, that would be nice. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I've already shown you, so you can always refer to the video recording, as well as I will draft an email and I will send all the steps to you guys. Okay. So what has to be done? Okay. Okay, I think that's
Uh,
good. That was a good session today. Now we are concluding the session today. Tomorrow I will be expecting the screenshots from you guys, and tomorrow we will be discussing the GC part. Okay, so Chandra, and I think Chandra or Chandan is very interested in GC, so we will discuss that part tomorrow, GC. And once all these things are done, we will also try to see the GC options on our JVM, how these options works. Okay, so we will discuss the GC part tomorrow, and after that, the most of the sessions will our sessions will be uh, hands-on sessions, right? So for that we need this setup on your system. Okay, so you can work it on. Okay, so it's good if you set it up today only. Okay, from for the upcoming session we will need this system to be working. Okay, guys, so thanks for attending the session. Let me know if any queries and questions you have. I will try to answer it. Have a great day ahead, Manil. Same to you. Okay, so I'm just quitting the meeting now. Bye bye.